Good morning, Geodians. This is Mike Horton, project creator of the GeoNet Network, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down in our Santa Clara office with Michael Cho of Photobots. Welcome, Michael.
All right. Thanks for having me, Mike. Glad to be here.
Great to see you. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about your journey in the field of robotics and how you got into these really cool sidewalk robots that we have here with us?
Yeah, so the whole project honestly started as a weekend hobby project, like most projects. So I was just this is during the pandemic. Me and my brothers were in different places, and we just want to have a reason to keep in touch. So we just want to geek out over a project, and we started assembling these like small sidewalk robots.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe we did that for about half a year, and then we thought, okay, we love it enough to actually start a
company.
Yeah, start a company. At the time, the hypothesis was that a lot of these sidewalk robots done by like bigger startups and bigger companies like Amazon, they are really pretty expensive because they try to do the AI thing from day one, which means they have a beefy GPU, LiDAR and radar and all of that. Those are very impressive machines, but we thought maybe there's a way to do this with so-called a dumb robot, meaning you yank out a GPU, and then what you do is you just let humans like remote tele operate the whole thing. So in which case you can take out a GPU and take out all the sensors. So instead you just have very cheap cameras. And our hypothesis back then is that we can get the price down to $500, which at the time there's nothing like that. And we thought we should give a go and try to build something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. And this is the first generation guy?
Yeah.
The original Earth rover.
Yeah. So this guy, you basically can put a box in it, and then it can carry another 4 to 5 kilos of stuff. So in the earlier, like the first 1-2 years, we did a bunch of like experiments where we were literally I've driven this into a Starbucks at least maybe like 100 times.
Really?
Yeah. So and then so the way it worked back then was I'll order something like say on DoorDash, and then I'll say self pickup. And then I'll drive this bugger into a Starbucks, and then usually the Starbucks girl, and then it will bark, hey, where's my order? Like, and then they'll put a coffee in, and so it does work. I want to say 90% of the time, and when it worked, it was really cool. Because this thing, I want to say, like, it has a speaker and microphone as well, so you can communicate that way. But then we also started to realize, if we want, it's still some way from really this being able to do real like delivery. If you order something on DoorDash, you expect 100% delivery success rate. I was getting like out of the 100 times, maybe 90 times. And if I look at those 10 times where I fail, I realized you basically need both way better hardware, and also basically you really need level 5, like really good AI. And so, and then we thought, okay, maybe part of the bottleneck towards having better AI is maybe just lack of real-world data sets. And if you treat these devices as real-world data collection devices, you just want it to be cheaper. And so that's why we thought, okay, maybe we should try to build something like this. So this one, when we first started, this was like, maybe the BOM was like closer to $1,000.
Right.
Now this one, we have an improved version of this. This form factor that's going for $300. But I'm super excited about this one. So this is the Mini Plus. Plus because we have GeoNet RTK.
Yeah.
And this is going for like $200, and I think it's a great form factor. It's actually, these things have been tested in, I think I want to say like nearly 50 cities across all kind of environment, through snow, through storm and whatnot. And they are actually a fair bit more capable than I initially expected. So
yeah, it's I think a really amazing piece of hardware. And let's talk about the hardware for a second. So what all you got on the Mini Plus?
Yeah, so we basically have a front and back camera. So the idea is that as a human gamer is playing the game. Oh, by the way, the whole product is actually a game.
As a game.
So the gameplay is kind of like Mario Kart / Pokemon Go. So you as a human gamer, you see the front camera and the back camera. This is what you see when you play the game on the browser, and you basically can just remote control, because we basically have a 4G SIM card here, so you can just put a SIM card, and just think of it as a video call where you can actually move the camera while you're having the video call. It's exactly like that. Like I said, there's a speaker microphone in here as well, so you can listen in effect, talk to people around it. It's got GPS, but honestly, for the longest time, our GPS just wasn't great, right? You know,
Right.
for all the reasons that you know very, very well.
Right.
And but now with this Mini Plus, we have RTK that's powered by GeoNet, and I would say it's night and day, right? The location accuracy.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. And there are actually some gameplay that we always wanted to try, but we just couldn't try because the location from the GPS just absolutely sucks.
Wasn't good enough.
So imagine, for example, a gameplay could be, hey, let's pick up a virtual item at this particular spot, right, at this particular corner. If your accuracy is only like tens of meters, you can't have that kind of gameplay.
Right.
But now you have basically RTK from GeoNet. You have basically CM level accuracy,
Right.
and you can start to do that kind of gameplay.
I look forward to trying that out. And
Yeah.
I had a couple of other questions on the hardware. So you have 4G, you have 2 cameras, you have RTK.
You've got a GPS, and then we have, obviously this one have an enhanced antenna, so it helps with the 4G connection.
Yeah.
It's got a
Looks good too.
Yeah, it's adds to the look. We have IMU. We also have these speed encoders, so we measure.
You have actually odometry as well. So you
Yes.
have IMU, odometry,
Yes.
GPS,
Yeah.
cameras,
Yeah.
RTK connection,
Yeah.
4G connectivity. Does it do Wi-Fi as well?
Yes, it's got Wi-Fi. So the initial setup will to have Wi-Fi. But I would say in its normal so-called mode of operations,
4G is the way to
4G,
go.
because then you have no limit in terms of
exactly
like
where you can go.
Yeah,
how
you can go
move
wherever.
around.
So yeah, like I said, like I mean, this it's because it's going through the internet through 4G.
Yeah.
You can have a robot, let's say here in Santa Clara, and have someone, let's say in London, controlling it,
Yeah.
and the latency will feel still doable. And
Yeah.
so we do have gamers from around the world, and like I said, we do have robots in over 50, like nearly 50 cities now.
Right.
Yeah.
That is pretty incredible. I think the price point, it's $199.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing. So there'll be a link in the video to order it, and highly encourage folks to do it. It's a pretty amazing piece of hardware. From the GeoNet side, one of the things that we're really excited about working with Photobots, and I think this starts to get into the whole bigger picture of BitRobot, but the combination of RTK and camera is a really active area of positioning engine research. So positioning and localization is one of the hardest problems in robots to do reliably across indoor, outdoor environments, deep urban environments where there's really tall buildings, under trees. It's quite tricky. And there's no one single sensor that can do everything perfectly 100% of the time. And so what GeoNet's been doing on its robotics roadmap is to build off this kind of global precision layer, which is the foundational layer of GeoNet that provides kind of Earth-centered coordinates and centimeter accuracy for things, but then all the augmentation. And so by having these data sets that you're collecting with the odometry, the IMU, the camera, and the RTK data, that can help us further develop that positioning engine for the general platform of robotics. So being able to do centimeter accuracy all the time, even when RTK isn't perfect, even when the camera system isn't perfect, that's that sensor fusion. It's really tough. One of the most tough things about it is really hard to get the data sets. So you guys are directly addressing that, and that's a use case that we directly see of the data. And I know there are many, many more when it comes to control, when it comes to how they deal with the perception environment, how do you deal with the sidewalks and steps and everything else that's out there in the nasty real world from the point of view of this robot. So it's really cool. Tied into that, I know Photobots itself is kind of a platform for these devices and bringing in the data sets, but it's plugging into a bigger picture with BitRobot. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the BitRobot vision and how Photobots fits into that.
Yeah, so the BitRobot project, which is a separate, I guess, sister project, which will be way bigger than Photobots, I think, over time, started maybe about 9 months ago. So that's a big collaboration with 2 guys actually from Protocol Labs. So Juan Bennett, who was the creator of IPFS, he's the founder of Filecoin.
Wow.
And then also Jonathan Victor, who used to be the head of ecosystem at Filecoin. So Jonathan, he himself will be leading the BitRobot Foundation. Anyway, so I think in January, 3 of us got together and write the white paper, which has been published 2 months ago. But basically, the general idea for BitRobot, we call it BitRobot because at least I was quite inspired by BitTensor, where I think that was the first project in crypto where I saw it's actually possible to build a network of subnets. I think there were other attempts, but I think BitTensor was the one that convinced me that it can be done. And I thought that robotics AI is going to be big enough for it to have its own kind of BitTensor-like things.
Right.
And so so you can imagine what we started out doing the Sidewalk robot. This thing will basically be the first subnet. But the idea is that there will be other different subnets that will be created, probably not by Phrotobots. It will be by maybe other Web2 robotic startups. It could be by researchers who want to do even, let's say, simulation, right? So the idea for BitRobot is, the mission is to advance embodied AI or basically robotic AI research and figuring out how to use crypto incentives to gather those resources. Those resources can be very different types. It could be like physical robots like this. It could be compute. It could be unique data set that helps. It could be, even projects like GeoNet, right? So.
That is interesting. So you've interacted a lot with a lot of the different core AI researchers at top universities like Berkeley and DeepMinds and Google. What is their take on BitTensor and this BitRobot, which is a more application sort of specific and maybe more focused project around building AI for robots? What's their take on the whole crypto angle to it?
I'm glad you asked. Usually, so I've been doing it for 3 years now, and I've interacted, like you say, with a lot of researchers. I have still yet to meet a single one who is not anti-crypto. Like, it's that bad. Like, so
really,
you cannot show up and talk crypto in your first sentence. You just cannot. So, but over time, I mean, I've gained their trust, and the way we did it is we just show up with unique, like, resources that they need to do their best work. So, data set is how we got in the first place. Right. So right now, like through this game, we actually have already open sourced the largest data set of its kind, urban navigation data set. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was a big paper from this lab from UC Berkeley. They basically built a state-of-the-art navigation model, firstly using our data set, and also tested with our fleet of robots, right, in those 40, 50 cities. And so this is something that even like the best researchers in the world just don't have, right? So, but honestly, the way I approach them is, look, you don't need to care how I get these resources. Even if you don't believe in crypto, it's okay. But so long you care about the data set, you care about testing your model out in the real world. I've got robots in 50 cities.
Right. So that's very similar, by the way, to how GeoNet has gone, where I think it's the availability of the data that really gets people, and then we've kind of warmed people up to the idea that it's crypto, but it's very similar. And I think what you describe, though, in many ways is a unique value proposition of DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks, that have this geospatial component. And this geospatial component is inherently decentralized, and it's super hard.
Exactly.
Google may have all the resources in the world. Berkeley may be a world-famous university, but to collect data from all over the world, it's a really hard problem for them. So they do turn to it, and I think, just like we've experienced the same thing, they don't think about, it's important enough to them to get that data that they don't really care about the crypto thing. They see it as, okay, well, if that's what's necessary to get this done, then let's do it. But we got to turn, I think over time, we got to collectively work to make them see the benefit of the overall Web3 ecosystem, because there's also the rails, there's the stable coins, there's the trustlessness of the network. It's quite a powerful set of technologies that Web3 has. So it's interesting to me when you tell me that, hey, AI researchers, their first reaction is negative. And I really wonder, why do you think that is?
Honestly, I completely understand, because I was like that 3 years ago.
Really?
So this is my third startup, but when I first started this with my brother, I was still very much a crypto skeptic. But it was just a mental model. Like looking back, I was just, just things that you read in the news, right?
Yeah,
so
the news definitely plays a big role in this. For me, like I got into Web3 actually before even I realized it was such a good fit for navigation. I got it through my daughter. So sometimes the young people really help you see these things. She's a big privacy advocate. And she got into all this VPN technology and then into Monero and mining Monero in our garage. And then she convinced me to buy some Bitcoin. And that's how I learned about it. And I learned about it kind of in a way where I saw that the whole, the banking system is so bad and kind of more traditional aspects of crypto, and then when you start to apply it to geospatial, you see how much better a solution is. Like it's fundamentally way better.
Yeah.
So it just upsets me when I hear people still so negative on it, because there's at all levels, there's definitely negative things in the Web3 ecosystem, but there's so much potential. So
I think so. So I think, but when I say we, meaning like people in Web3 trying to use crypto incentive to do things, we do have to show up and prove our case also, right?
Absolutely.
To be fair to them, I mean, there are a lot of let's say like suspicious projects, right? And so I think it's fair for them to have this this level of suspicion, but over time, I mean, I do feel that we have done a lot. So we have right now research collaboration with more than a dozen universities like Stanford, Berkeley, National University of Singapore. So really top labs doing different subfields in robotics, and it's all the same ultimately. Like they all want data, they all want robots in the real world, and I think so long we keep providing them, they'll be quite happy to keep working with us, and then
yeah, that is super cool, and I really appreciate that you're helping, and that I think a lot of the DeepIn projects are really helping shed light that these are real world applications and there's real utility, and these are very hard problems to solve, and DeepIn solves them in a very efficient way. So it's super cool to be connected with you. I have one more question on BitRobot, which is like there's going to be a token. So at some point you'll be able to use these devices to sort of collect tokens on the BitRobot network. When do you think the timing on that is?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. I would love to be ASAP, but of course it depends on like market, depends on I guess also fundraising perhaps. But really for it to scale, to really get the DeepIn thing, you need the token to be out there. So, but yeah, you can imagine this will be subnet 1 of BitRobot.
Very cool.
So you can imagine like it's basically you're driving to mine the token in a way, but there's utility because the data collected is so useful.
We see utility. We definitely see utility. That's going to be amazing. So no specific time frame on the token. How much money has BitRobot raised?
We've raised 8 million.
That's a pretty good start.
Yeah. So, but robotics, especially when you touch hardware, we do need resources.
Hardware is hard.
But BitRobot is a super ambitious project. It won't just be cyborg robot. It'll be humanoids. It'll be surgical robots and robotic dogs and whatnot. So,
I saw the stuff on your website about the robotic hands and training. I think that's a fascinating area to dive into more for another time. It's really cool. I have one idea for this guy that we could talk about, which is we should maybe think about making a charging station for it together.
Charging station.
I don't know if you've thought about that or not. We have these robotic mowers, companies that we work with now. I think probably close to a dozen robotic mower companies that are interacting with the foundation either directly or through one of our wholesale partners. They always come back to a charger, and you can see this vehicle, I think, being useful in certain locations, both retail and in consumer, residential, where it does have daily tasks to do, where there's this ability for someone to take it over and drive it, but it also has daily tasks to do to collect data, maybe to make measurements. But with the RTK and the imagery, you can do photogrammetry, right?
Yeah.
So
we actually have folks, just to add on that use case, we have folks who are like warehouse owners who want to use this for surveillance, security, and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely would be very keen to actually have that kind of like charging station.
And with the RTK, it gets really easy because it knows where the charging station exactly is. It can come back and get recharged, and that makes it a more long-lived, part of the environment. So I'd love to work with you on
helps the deployment cost a lot. I mean, if you don't have to, right now we still need a human to charge the thing and then put it out there. We should talk afterwards.
We should talk about that. That would be a cool thing. Meanwhile, I hope everyone gets a chance to go out and order
Yeah.
Mini Earth Rover Mini Plus.
Yeah.
And
For those, I mean, in your network, this is the cheapest way for you to
oh, it's
experience
amazing.
the CM level accuracy from
In,
GeoNet.
in an interactive
It-
way too.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
for $199. It's
Yeah.
a pretty amazing piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine all the games and all the fun stuff you can come up with
Mhm.
tying into the whole RC car. But you've got a full autonomy stack here.
Mhm. Mhm.
You've got vision. You've got precise location. You've got communication. You got
Yeah.
energy. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
we've got
full.
odometry.
In the Web 2 world, this is a
yeah.
$20,000 machine. In the Web 3 world, it's $200, and you get
Yeah.
tokens on one of the most exciting,
Yeah.
ideas that out there in robotics. So that's just so cool.
Mhm.
So I hope everybody who's
Yeah.
watching gets a chance to order one. And I
Mm.
really appreciate your time, Michael. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks to GeoNet as well. Like the CM level accuracy is no joke. Like it was jaw dropping the first time we put it in our thing. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we need all the bots to have RTK. Seriously,
I
it's such
appreciate-
a
yeah,
night and day
It
difference.
is a jaw-dropping capability. I think it's very technical. I think GeoNet struggled sometimes to communicate with people, but when you think about it, you put a coordinate system, an XYZ Cartesian plane, through the center of the Earth. They call that Earth-centered coordinates. That's what GeoNet is. Put the globe on it. Now I can locate anything on that globe to within a centimeter in most conditions. And that creates a physical spatial awareness that is way beyond human capability. I mean, imagine if you could index and remember where things are and place things in the world to centimeter accuracy, and then share that with your wife or share that with whatever else in your community. That's a capability we as humans have nothing close to that. And RTK provides that absolute global precision with the absolute reference to centimeter accuracy. AR, robots, drones, all this type of stuff can just take massive advantage of that. And it really lets you kind of know and digitize and spatialize the world in a way that's just very powerful.
Absolutely. I know the concept, but until we actually put it in here, it was still like jaw dropping when I said, okay, this is truly, yeah.
And don't forget
amazing.
height. You're getting the really good vertical accuracy too, which I think there are going to be some tricks to play with that can be really cool. I love your idea of the gamification, like we can put augmented reality.
Yeah, AR, there's a lot of things
we can do. And you as a driver in London can see, take this thing out in Palo Alto, drive it around the streets and see Pokemon, flying around. I mean, it's going to be wild.
Yeah,
so,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, just encourage everyone, check out Photobots, order up Earth Rover Mini Plus, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you, Michael, for being on this show. And I'd like to wish everybody happy mining.
GeoNet. Mine the sky.